We're having the perfect day at Canada's Wonderland and a great night here at Halloween Haunt. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Joe Finley, and today we are taking you through the first weekend at Halloween Haunt here at Canada's Wonderland. On Halloween Haunt days, Canada's Wonderland's open from 10 o'clock until 5 p.m., at which point you will have to leave the park. There's no staying on premises and getting a wristband or anything like that. So take that time to go get yourself a bite to eat, maybe change into some warmer clothes before you come back in the park. 7 o'clock is the official opening time for Halloween Haunt, and the end time varies by day. The Saturday that we actually visited, closing time was at midnight. Now, Halloween Haunt is a separately ticketed event, so you can just buy tickets to go into Halloween Haunt, but that does not give you park admission for the earlier part of the day. If you have a gold season pass or higher though, Halloween Haunt admission is included in that. But before we get to the haunt, I want to talk about the actual day that we had at Canada's Wonderland prior to that. Now, Halloween Haunt is a popular event, and since Canada's Wonderland's only open on the weekends during September, I wanted to do a little nerd math and figure out how much time we're saving, if any, during this off-summer time. Now, the first thing we did was rope drop Leviathan. Now, rope drop's a term that I'm stealing from Disney because when you get into the park hasn't officially opened yet, and certain areas are blocked off by a physical rope. Once the park's opening time rolls around, the staff actually proceeds into the park with the rope, and you follow behind, and they drop the rope, and then you can go wherever you want. Leviathan is definitely where a lot of people are heading first because it's typically the longest wait times for adults. But even with the biggest crowd, we managed to get on it in just 10 minutes. After that, we figured we'd try and conquer the area, so we headed over to Drop Tower, which we were able to do a walk on, and we went over to Vikings Rage where we had another walk on. So far, so good. 3 rides, 10 minutes worth of waiting. After that, the kids headed over to Wild Nightmares. I did not get on that ride. I do not do spinning, and that was a 13-minute wait. Then they headed over to Shockwave, again, more spinning. I did not go on that, and that was a 10-minute wait. And then they decided to go on it again, and that was an 18-minute wait for the second one. After that, we headed over to the second of the big 3 roller coasters, Yukon Striker, and that was only a 36-minute wait. After Yukon Striker, we went over to get some lunch because I'm told feeding your kids is not only a good thing, but legally necessary. We polished off the big 3 coasters by heading over to Behemoth, and that was only 20 minutes. And then went over to Backlot Stunt Coaster, and that was actually our longest wait of the day at 50 minutes. After that, I brought the kids over to Cyclone, where they had a 22-minute wait. And then we headed over to Wonder Mountain's Guardian, which usually has a notoriously slow wait because of slow load times, as well as there's usually a car or two that have a bunch of seats that are unavailable, and that was only a 25-minute wait. And as we were in the last hour before the park closed, we got on Vortex, which was a 34-minute wait. And when we got off Vortex, we had time for one last thing, so thankfully Soaring Timbers was right across the way, and that was only a 12-minute wait. And now here's the time for that nerd math. So we lay out all of the rides in front of us and how long each one took. So we got on 13 rides, well actually 12, but we rode one twice in the 7-hour operating period. Adding up all the wait times, we had 250 minutes of total wait times. That's 4 hours and 10 minutes, which averaged out to 19 minutes and 14 seconds in line per ride. Now, if we want to compare the average wait times from August for the exact same 13 rides, that would have been a 446-minute total wait. That's 7 hours and 26 minutes that you would have spent in line, or an average of 34 minutes and 18 seconds per ride. So we saved a total of 196 minutes in line. That's 3 hours and 16 minutes, or on average 15 minutes and 4 seconds per line. That is a fantastic comparison, and keep in mind we didn't have Fast Pass or anything like that. We could have saved even more time if we did that. Now, one thing we didn't do that I regretted was we didn't get the daily dining plan, because low wait times didn't just apply to the rides, it was everywhere, so you would have been getting food really fast too. And remember, the daily dining plan, you can eat every 90 minutes. So I showed you how to share that with a family in a previous video. And as we got near to the end of the day, we could have grabbed some food on our way out and had a little kind of picnic lunch out there. And then we would have been due for some more food as we came back into the park. But speaking of going back into the park, that's exactly what we did. Now, they do let you in ahead of the 7 o'clock opening time, and they kind of corral you in that opening gate area. But the cool thing is that that's technically a scare zone, and you're going to have monsters wandering all around. And you're going to notice there's no specific theming to this quote-unquote scare zone, because it's really just the monsters from all the other scare zones before they start to disperse. Except this guy here, he's exclusive to the front gate. At this point, it's worth noting that they don't recommend Halloween Haunt for anyone under 13. Now, you are going to see my son, who's 9 years old, throughout this entire video. We've been to Halloween Haunt enough times and we know what Reese is actually capable of handling. Plus, we've had discussions with him ahead of time, and he's fully aware of what he's to expect. And spoiler alert, he makes it through like a champ. Now, despite the age warning, you are going to see plenty of kids in the park, and you do have a couple of options if you do have your kids and you're worried about them getting too scared. You can purchase one of the No Boo necklaces, and what that does is when you're in the scare zone, the No Boo necklace actually lights up, and then the scarers know to kind of back off from you. But keep in mind that if you're with a child who has a No Boo necklace on, you are basically wearing them as a No Boo necklace, because obviously because of proximity, they're not going to come scare you either. Now, the No Boo necklace does not work inside of haunted houses. So if your kids are the type who would get scared in a situation like that, do not bring them in. So once the park was fully open, we headed over to the first and the closest of the haunted houses, Dark Ride the Maze. Now, Dark Ride sets up a scene that you're in an abandoned amusement park ride that's been taken over by some of the carnies, and you've got to try and make your way out. Now, cameras aren't allowed inside any of the haunted houses, so we adhered to those rules, so we're going to skip right ahead to when we get out of the haunted house and we rate it. Overall, decent theming in the house. A few scares, big gaps without scares, though, in few parts. What do you guys think?
I think it was about a 6, but only because they got Abby so good.
Yeah?
I'm thinking it was like an 8.
You got an 8?
Yeah.
So Abby doesn't want to be on camera, but she said 7.5. I'm going to give it a 6 too. There was just too big of gaps in there. Now, if you add up all of our scores, you're going to get a total of 27.5 out of 40. Now, because this is the only house we've seen so far, it's currently in first place among our leaderboard. Next up, we headed to the only outdoor haunted maze that they have, Cornstalkers. And the name should give you some idea of what you're about to walk into. You are inside a corn maze where children have been disappearing, and now you're in there too. Okay, so Cornstalkers is a really well themed, and it's actually quite big in terms of how many scares there are, how actually long it is. It had some good double scares where they get you from one side, then get you from the other. So I'm going to give that one 8.5 out of 10.
That one's definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. It's my favorite one so far, and it's been my favorite one in the past.
I'd give it a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10? Why 5?
It was not that scary, and I don't really like it that much.
Oh, hey.
There's not much to say about it.
All right, and Abby, who doesn't want to speak on camera, gave it a 10 out of 10. It's also her favorite. And if we combine all of the family scores for this one, we're going to get a total of 32.5 out of 40. That's going to move it into first place ahead of Dark Ride. And after that, we headed over to Spirit Manor. Plus, we got a little surprise after it. Okay, so Spirit Manor, I actually forgot. It's probably the best set of all of the ones. It's really well built out and stuff like that. You've got the stairways, you've got the things. I really wish I could show you what it was, but you're not allowed cameras in that one. The lightning effects and everything, it was just a fantastically built haunted house. The actual scarers themselves, not that they did a bad job per se, but it was like that was maybe the one part that was a little bit lacking, just that like the characters, some of them fit in with the house, some less so. I'm going to give it a 9. I think that might be my favorite house of all the ones. Okay, what about you?
For Haunt Manor, 8.5. It was really good. I love the set design. The lights coming through the floorboards, the woman behind the mirror that looked like she was kind of miraged into it. I thought that was fantastic. So 8.5 on that one for me.
Okay.
I'd give it like, I don't know, like a 7. There were not too many scares, but when the scares did come, they were pretty good. So a 7.
Okay, and you gave that one a 9? Abby gives that one a 9. But what was really cool about this one is it actually went into a second house. So it went right straight into Demons of the Deep. There was no like second line to get into or anything like that. Demons of the Deep, another really good set. I think it's its first year, so I think there's some improvements to be made. But a lot of fishmen and a lot of men fish and things of the like. A lot of really good scares. In fact, my daughter, who was holding onto my back during that entire one, actually put in near permanent scrunch marks into my shirt, which I'll be showing now because my wife got photo of that. I'm going to give that one an 8. I thought that one was really good. There was a lot of people in it, a lot of scares, and really well themed overall scarers and set.
So for that one, I'm going to give it an 8.5 as well as the Haunt Manor, just because I didn't like the set as much, but I really like the scarers in that one. They were really good. They were there. A lot of scares. Like that one.
I would give the second one a 9 because basically every corner you turn, there's a new scarer waiting to scare you.
And Abby's giving that one a 7. So looking at Spirit Manor first, when we add up all of the scores, we're going to get a total of 33.5 out of 40. And when we look at Demons of the Deep, we're going to have another 32.5 out of 40. So Spirit Manor now moves into first place, taking over Cornstalkers, and Demons of the Deep is tied with Cornstalkers at second place. After that, we headed over to the Ruins, which exists in the bowels of Wonder Mountain. Okay, so the Crypt, I feel like that one needs a little bit of an update, to be really honest with you. The overall theming, not bad. There's some pretty decent effects in there, but it was really dark for the most part. And a lot of people would pop out and you didn't even know what they looked like. You didn't know what the characters were supposed to be or anything like that. It got darker and darker in tone as you went through, which was pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, I'll give it about a 6.
I give that one about a 5. I didn't enjoy it. It could have been the people in front of me, but you couldn't see any of the scares. I didn't find any of it scary. I felt they were pretty spaced too far apart. Didn't care for that one.
5. She said, yeah, you weren't really able to see anything, and so I'd give it a 5 as well.
And Abby also gave that one a 6 as well. So adding up all the family's scores, it comes to a disappointing 22 out of 40, which puts it in last place amongst all the houses we've seen so far. And heading to our last haunted house, we went to the Crypt. So we didn't get a chance to actually review the Crypt. We got out there and then there was actually a show going on that we wanted to check out. But overall, I rate it similar to the Ruins. It's kind of stale because I've seen it a couple times before. The set pieces are really great. The walls of skulls are really good. I noticed a lot more scripted dialogue coming from the scarers. I liked it a little bit more than the Ruins. It also had some dark spots, but I think overall I give it a 6.5. So because we didn't rate this one together as a family, I gave this 6.5, as I said, but I talked to everybody. Carrie gave it a 5.5 out of 10, Reese gave it a 5, and Abby gave it a 6.5 out of 10 for a total of 23.5 points out of 40, which puts it in 5th place, just ahead of the Ruins, leaving Ruins in last place. So there you can see our combined rankings. Number 6 was the Ruins, number 5, the Crypt, number 4 was Dark Ride, tied at number 2 was Cornstalkers and Demons of the Deep, and number 1 was Spirit Manor. Now, in case you were interested in how we individually ranked each one of those rides, we did that nerd math for you as well. So starting with me, number 6 was the Ruins, number 5 was the Crypt, number 4 was Dark Ride, number 3 was Demons of the Deep, number 2 was Cornstalkers, and number 1 was Spirit Manor for me. I really enjoyed that one. Looking over at Carrie's total rankings, number 6 was the Ruins, number 5 was the Crypt, number 4 was Dark Ride, number 3 was Demons of the Deep, number 2 was Spirit Manor, and number 1 was Cornstalkers. Looking over to Reese, number 6 was the Ruins, number 5 was Cornstalkers, number 4 was the Crypt, number 3 was Spirit Manor, number 2 was Dark Ride, and for him, number 1 was Demons of the Deep. And lastly, Abby, yes, that is the back of her head. Number 6 was the Ruins for her, then number 5 was the Crypt, number 4 was Demons of the Deep, number 3 she had Dark Ride, number 2 was Spirit Manor, and number 1 for her, just like her mom, Cornstalkers. Now, we didn't as a family rate the scare zones. We went through them multiple times, had different experiences each time, so I wanted to be able to share my rankings of the scare zones. At number 7, we had Wicked Hollow. It's right in front of Vortex. It's a very small area with almost no set. There was only 3 or 4 characters roaming around at any given time, and it's a fairly wide area. I didn't even bother to take video of it. At number 6, we had Trick or Treat Street. It's a fantastic idea in concept, but there just was not a lot happening. There were not a lot of characters out at any given time. The ones who interacted with people did a decent job. There just wasn't enough of them. Next, at number 5, I chose Kingdom of Carnage. And honestly, how wide the area was had a lot to do with this, because a lot of people were spread out and there were only so many scarers. Plus the fact that it's really crowded as people are heading over to Leviathan and the Crypt. At number 4, I had Carnival. This suffers from kind of the same thing. There's active rides going on here and it's a very wide area. The scarers were really good, but actually trying to keep on top of people was really hard for them. But of all the ones we've seen, they definitely had my favorite makeup and costumes. So number 3, I had Streets of the Undead 2. This is how a good scare zone is. It's done very narrow. They have scares all through it, so it's really hard to get through there without having somebody jump out at you. Again, good makeup and costumes, and they do another cool thing because they actually have people on the other side of the fence too. So if you decide to hug the fence to try and get through, you're still gonna get a scare. Number 2, I chose Gates of Terror. And while again, this is a very large area, this is just a numbers game because all of the monsters are in here at one time and they're weaving through everybody. And sometimes it's hard for you to actually see one until they pop out right in front of you, or sometimes pop up behind you, as my wife found out. Sad we didn't get that on video. And number 1, I chose Necropolis. Now this one's really cool because it's a narrow area that actually has 2 lanes that you can go through, but the number of scares compared to how many people could get through at one given time meant that you would always go through and get some kind of decent interaction. Like this one, for example.
Hey brother, what's up?
Not so much. Finally,
My man, look at this!
like looking in a dead mirror. So we got through pretty much everything here at Halloween Haunt already. We've done all the houses. We've done all but one of the scare zones at this point and seen a little bit of every one of the shows. So now we're taking a minute to get in a few more rides while the wait times are a little bit lower. So we managed to get the kids on Windseeker, which is always best to be ridden at night anyways. Oh, hey, look at these guys again. Then they went on Yukon Striker one more time. There was a pretty considerable wait, but not too bad, all things considered. And we snuck in a quick ride on Tundra Twister. This was basically a walk-on. It was maybe a 2-minute wait. And finally, we re-rode Wonder Mountain's Guardian, rethemed as zombies for the event. And that's how we wrapped up another fantastic day at Canada's Wonderland, including Halloween Haunt. We got in 17 total rides. We saw all 6 haunted houses. We went through all 7 scare zones. We got a peek at the shows. I will be trying to go back for another haunt to actually watch the entire shows and maybe rate those. But we're heading to Disney in just a couple of weeks, so I don't know if we're gonna have time to get that done. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about all the houses and scare zones down in the comments. If you've been to Halloween Haunt this year so far, let me know what your experience has been like. And while you're going down there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know when I have new videos come out. While I've still got you here, why don't you check out one of these 2 videos? YouTube has decided you will like them, and YouTube is always right. So that's going to be it for this one, my friends. And as always, whatever you do, make it magical.